No. Yes. I'm just sending the live link out to a couple of people who want to join. Not live yet, are we? No. For the game. Yeah, definitely needs a name, but yeah, I've tried to think of one, but nothing seems to fit quite right yet. It's like Houston, NASA.
So hold on a sec while we just turn this down. There we go. So it's Friday, and I'm delighted to say we are joined today by writer stroke author Stepth. Hey Steph.
Hiya. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good, all things considering.
You had a good week?
Yeah, the week's just passed by so quickly though. So yeah,
mine
it
did
could
too.
have been 24 hours.
Yeah, it's a really weird one. Every other week I've found since the lockdown, it's been really slow. In fact, if I think back to the beginning of the lockdown, it feels like months. But
it seems like a couple of days for me.
Yeah, a couple of days. Wow. Yeah, you're on holiday basically. Yay!
I've been on holiday since like the start of the year, though, so maybe that's it.
So we are live screen sharing. I've got my screen resolution at 200% today because of yet another comment that no one can see any of the text. So I hope that's a bit better. We're going to start today. We're going to take a dive into some of the some of the scripts that Steph's been preparing. What are we going to see today, Steph? What are you going to show us?
So, right. So what I want to kind of do is a brief introduction as to what the setting of this game is going to be. So we've already established that it's going to be sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the past couple of days, I've been building up a picture of what the sort of society is like and how the facility came to be on Europa itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a little, I've gone quite in depth, which I'm not going to go into on here, but it's just to kind of just to highlight what the kind of interactions you might expect and the culture that you might encounter on Europa itself as you play through the game.
Cool.
So,
do you want to open something up?
Just if you go into the storyline materials folder, and there is a Word document there.
2020 storyline?
That's the one, I think.
All right, here we go.
So yeah, as you know, for anyone who's not aware, I hope it's not many, Europa is one of the the four biggest moons of Jupiter. It is relatively the same size of the moon, our moon that is.
Really? It's that small.
It's very, very small. And
okay, I had no idea. I thought it was big. Having watched what's that film? 2010, 2001. Is it 2001? A Space Odyssey? I can't remember what year it was.
There
It
is
just
a 10
seems so
one.
old now. Yeah, they really screwed up with the year. But yeah, so obviously they got Europa in that, right? Doesn't that have like a lush forests and lakes and stuff?
No, I think you were watching different films.
No, maybe I could well be. It's been a while.
yeah, it's definitely not that. They do mention Europa.
Right. Okay.
Titan is the moon that they go near. They go near Saturn. That's the second monolith is near Saturn.
I need to rewatch it.
Yeah, interesting enough, they do go to Jupiter in 2010, A Space Odyssey, if I remember rightly. But that's they didn't look at something like that. The book did that.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe it's the big monolith comes off it. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, go on.
Anyway, so Europa is one of the moons that's orbiting Jupiter.
Mm-hmm.
It is oh god, I've got a figure. I went onto NASA and got some loads of figures and facts and stuff. It's a fairly sizable distance away. It takes about 6 years to get there at current known technology. It's got an atmosphere mainly of oxygen. It's obviously I don't know if you're aware, it is a moon that is predominantly made of ice. There's potential for an ocean of water, salt water underneath, and it's got very, very low gravity, but it has gravity and it's got an atmosphere. So there is potential that life could be on there, and it's potential that we could one day land on there and try and form this colony, which is what we are kind of basing the game on. So as background, what I wanted to the kind of themes of the game are going to be quite sci-fi and political as well, with a little bit of cooperation and the kind of capitalism of space exploration. That's essentially what I want to try and
I need to share my screen, don't I?
I've got it. I can see it. I can see you on YouTube.
Oh, okay, cool. So you can see we're looking at pictures of Europa from the surface, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah. So the surface is ice, and it's about 15 miles thick.
Wow.
There are massive striations, sometimes a few kilometers deep, and certainly a few kilometers long, that are caused by Jupiter's gravitational pull. And yeah, there's so there is a lot of light, but not as nearly as much as Earth gets. So we obviously have to overcome that, and that's the kind of hostile environment that these colonists are going to be having to deal with.
Right.
So the essence is that Earth wanted to create a scientific facility on Europa. I didn't quite have the funds available. They could supply some of the funds, but they needed a corporate venture, a corporate partner to be able to fund the rest of this. And as such, over a course of about 20 years span, this corporation has sent people out. It's manned shuttles have gone through, and shuttles have gone through with supplies and people there after the first landing, and they've slowly built up this base. So graphically, when it comes to when we add graphics into this game, it's going to have that kind of slightly haphazard, thrown together look that really shows the age of the facility, and also the kind of cash injections that you get from time to time. So I want Europe and Earth to have this sort of this relationship where they love the research and they love what comes out of Europa, but also there's a tendency, very much like and I want to draw a parallel with the NASA moon landings and such like that was in the 70s. There was a massive interest after the 1969 moon landing, and that kind of dwindled over time until we got to the stage in the sort of 80s where we just stopped going, we stopped caring. So I want there to be sort of drawn parallels that this facility is sometimes forgotten, and sometimes there's less cash coming in, so they're having to compensate. So it's a company for running this facility, and they are having to constantly justify why they're there. They're having to make money for their shareholders, and they're having to produce results at the same time.
Nice. Poor bastards.
Exactly. So there's going to be a combination of factors here. There's going to be a political aspect. There's going to be an aspect of, the sort of capitalism venture of, perhaps sponsorship of project sponsorship of maybe areas of the facility itself. So that,
nice.
Not quite on the nose as this, but it might be like the Coca-Cola.
I was just going to say. That's funny, isn't it? It's just the obvious choice. Coca-Cola, they've obviously got to sponsor this.
Yeah. So that's the kind of environment I want to set up. And then part of the justification for this program to continue was the corporation said, give us some more money and we can try and see if we can produce children on Europa. And that is where the player comes in. His parents were brought over essentially.
Oh, right, okay. I thought that was his job. Like, yes, yes, sir.
No,
right.
he's the first off-worlder.
And
there's a reason why he's the eldest as well. So there was a number of complications that led to his mother's death, and a lot of stillborn children who didn't make it. And so their license was revoked to continue this the what do you call it, sort of reproduction, I suppose, to continue this for a while. And then it started up again about 10 years after he was born. Once it was established that he was a healthy child, and then he became sort of the poster child of space exploration, of the company itself. And as interest on planet Earth is kind of, both heightened and waned in terms of, their interest in Europa.
Can we make our protagonist like a he or a she?
I mean, in my mind, he's a he, but
I wonder how much. I wonder what the impact on our budget would be. Not that we've got a budget, but replacing all the he's and hims and his with hers and a whole new voice records the narrative.
Yeah, and then you've got to maybe do two dialogue options for everyone who speaks to him or her as well.
Assuming that they speak back? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I always wonder about. I was playing a game recently. I can't remember what it was, but I remember distinctly thinking, "Isn't it daft when the character speaks back? I want the character to be. I kind of actually want the character to be in my head, and just hear the person I'm talking to reply to the text I'm clicking. So I'm thinking maybe the player doesn't have a voice."
What about his interactions with?
Oh, you've put it in
the environment. Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll put it in. Yeah.
I think it could work either way.
We can see what works. We can try it with, and we can try it without, and see what's more.
Yeah, well, you get games with and games without. So no, I'm up for either or. So cool. Okay.
Yeah, like BioShock. The first two BioShocks didn't have the protagonist didn't have a voice, and then I think Troy Baker came in for the third one, and I just thought it sounded weird.
Really?
Yeah. I just felt it sounded like he suddenly was starting to comment on stuff he was doing, and it just felt strange.
So you think this might sound weird?
No, I'm not saying this might sound weird, but I think different formats work for different games. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I mean, this is one big experimental, experiment. So we'll see. Okay, cool. Well, you know what? I'm up to speed. That's very cool. How old is our protagonist?
I think he's about. So I haven't sort of fixed this, but I think he is about 25 to 30, somewhere in that region. Possibly a little bit older, maybe 34, potentially.
Nice. Okay.
Depending on what I want to kind of do with the background history and where that fits in. So this all leads up to the point in the game where, the start of the game essentially, where the character is woken up by essentially a comet striking Europa, and it causes an impact sort of like a, sort of like a comet landing nearby would, and they're consequently locked down in their rooms, their quarters, so that's where Jove wakes up.
Oh, honestly, I'm so excited. Just reading this already. It's like, for so long I've been waking up with the air humidifier and leaving the heating on and a dry mouth. And it's just been like, you know what? This is really going anywhere. I'm waking up in bed with a dry mouth every morning, and suddenly it's exciting. We're going to wake up and there's going to be a message. Please remain in your quarters. There is no need to evacuate.
Yeah, and I want to kind of have it play in the background somehow. And then shortly after that, if you scroll a little bit further down, so this is all happening in kind of like a kind of prologue before the player.
Cool. Yep, we can have a heartbeat noise. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, I quite like the kind of heartbeat noise to kind of give a sense of like what is happening.
I've got a voice actor who can do a really good heartbeat noise down a microphone. So,
nice.
If we need it. Okay, you can hear panic in the corridor.
So you panic and then the audio goes louder. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
And then eventually gets to the point where a message comes through. And that message, he knows instantly it's his dad. This is obviously dad's called Rick Winter on this script here. You don't quite know who this voice is. The protagonist eventually clarifies it later on. But this message comes through saying, "Hey, Jove, it's me. Do you remember the time we took our first walk?"
What's it coming through on?
His personal device. So I want this to be a sort of feature where Jove can get messages and all sorts, through this personal device, which I hope you can create.
Okay, well, actually, that's interesting. So if we have some sort of PDA, then maybe that'll give us a reason to have a different interface, because that was one of the things I wanted to talk about today, was an excuse, or whether we need or want to have an excuse to change how the interface works. Because at the moment, if I bring that little picture up, oops, where is it? I mean, obviously this picture was just a sketch we did, but there was only really moving about, interacting with things and interacting with people.
Yeah.
So a PDA could be, maybe that's what we need to have some sort of consistent new elements that come in. Is bring up the whole PDA and have some sort of interaction with it. I like that, actually. That'd be really cool, because then the buttons, if you have a PDA, you're interacting with that. I think that could work nicely. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Go on, carry on.
So he's got this PDA, and then after his father announces, like, "Do you remember this time?" and it prompts for a pin, and it quite audibly is prompting for this pin. And then that's when the player assumes control, and so you are given free reign to go around your quarters, which consists of the living area, which is kind of, it's got your bed, it's got like a TV in it, it's got a couple of other bits and pieces. You've got access to the study, and then you've got access to your little balcony. And then as a kind of added extra with the balcony, it's only kind of for very high up scientists in the base that they get a balcony. Else, it's to try and give the impression that actually Jove is a kind of well-respected member of the facilities community.
Cool. Do you want me to keep going through this? Like I don't think there's going to be any giveaways here. We don't, there will be plenty of spoilers if you're going to watch this stream. You're going to know what's going to happen. Although we're going to do it act by act, right?
Yeah, we're going to act by act, and then all this is subject to changes depending on what works, what doesn't, and what we want to add in as well.
Oh wow! So I've done a bed. Nice.
I've got a bed, yeah, and you might be able to use it. Go for a sleep, go for a lie down.
Yeah.
So I need to kind of format this at the moment, but it's got a list of objects, what the interaction types could be, what Joe's responses could be towards these objects.
Okay, you've added some depth here. I like this. Yep. Okay.
And then the TV. TV is actually going to be quite a useful thing that I want to try and convey some of the history between Europa and Earth as well. So what I want to try and do is, I don't want to bombard the player with all this information about Europa and its history and everything like that. What I want to try and do is, and it was actually done in the Truman Show a little bit quite well, I thought, because they in the Truman Show, don't you remember, they had the anniversary. It was his 30th birthday, so it was the 30th anniversary of the show. So I want to try and tie this in, and it's like maybe the 40th anniversary of Europa's facility.
Cool.
And
nice.
so they're talking about it on
Nice. All right.
So
that's
you might
beautiful.
and so when you switch on the TV, you might get news updates on the latest research that's come through from Europa. You switch to a documentary, then you might get something that's maybe a couple of years old, or it's something like Question Time, where they're discussing the benefits of Europa, and there'll be different people having different opinions on Earth about the validity of the facility and the problems there are back home as well. So I want to try and bring some very human issues as well in. For instance, like relevant issues right now might be like hunger, overpopulation, global warming, and I want to try and bring that in.
Brilliant.
Elements of that in. Yeah, so I think that sort of having TVs throughout will give the player an opportunity, because they can turn it on and off, so they can choose to learn as much or as little about the world as they want, but the option is there.
Brilliant. I love that. I think that's awesome. You're going to really add some depth to the world.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm it's all forming in my head right now. So yeah.
Brilliant. Okay.
And then
have you started creating a list of all the characters that you're going to need for TV stations and
yeah, so I want to try. There's a couple of voice actors that I mentioned earlier. So I want to try and get them. Want to try and sort of script a dialogue that's maybe a news. And like, remember the one that we had? It was Fox News or something horrendous like that. So I want to try and get a couple of dialogues scripted together, get them to record that, and then sort of simulate a kind of newsroom environment over the top of their dialogue.
That's brilliant. That sounds good.
This is a kind of test as to,
maybe we should get a voice for the PDA as well.
Yeah, that might be quite good.
Steve Merchant.
He's cheap, isn't he?
Yeah, that's cheeky PDA. Okay. Have you got an idea of the overall feel? I mean, you've started writing now. What's the general feel of the universe we're in? The tone we're setting? Is it serious? Has it got underlying comedy? What is it like? Can you give a sense of what you've got? What you'd like to do, ideally?
I think on the whole, it would be serious, but I want there to be elements of Joe's human interaction and his personality. So I want him to have sort of a kind of sarcastic streak to him, not quite Joss Whedon levels of sarcasm in the dialogue, but just a little bit of his personality, and that can be brought out in different ways in his interactions with different people, and to kind of bring his opinion of what his environment is like. So I want it to feel quite isolated. He's obviously grown up in Europa, and he's surrounded predominantly by people who were born on a planet that he's meant to have an association with, but kind of doesn't.
Okay.
So I want to try and bring about this sort of sense of isolation.
That sounds good.
Yeah, and what's the word? Just isolation and just not quite fitting in. And,
so there's a bit of dark sci-fi then? Is that what
dark sci-fi.
Yeah, is it dystopian? I mean, you're writing it. Really? Okay, just checking.
I mean, maybe.
No?
All sci-fi is dystopian in the end, isn't it?
Well, I don't know if you've seen the latest Picard, but that's turned a bit dystopian. Star Trek was never dystopian.
Well, everything written nowadays has to be dystopian, doesn't it? So you can't leave anything happy anymore.
You can make it happy. We can have happiness in this.
I can have happiness.
Apart from all the drama that's going on, it can still be in a happy place. Oh,
anyway, I don't want it to be like run down I don't want it to be like run down like Rapture or anything like that. But
right.
I want there to be the hope of what they're trying to create, scientists themselves, but then the kind of overarching theme of why it might feel like, the constant pandering to corporations and,
So how far have how many other planets are colonized, or I mean, how far at the solar system have we got? Just this one?
This is the first one. Yeah.
Okay, right. So we'll not be flying to any other planets anytime soon.
Well, we might. There are 3 other very close moons of Jupiter and a couple of rock planets.
Okay, perfect.
Io's a bit volcanic.
will there be Nazi zombies and Nazi bases on any of these moons, or are we?
I think the Nazis by this time have not quite died out, so are a bit
Right.
irrelevant.
Okay. They didn't win in the storyline. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but there will be sort of elements of, you know, there are going to be enemies. There's going to be a point where you are working against everyone who is around you, essentially.
Cool. So, did you catch what I was saying about the enemy stuff the other day?
No, I don't think so.
Just in terms of just an idea. I didn't really develop any more than that, but I was thinking that we could introduce like roguelike elements. I don't know if you've played any roguelike games,
No.
but we could have like pre-generated areas. So let's say I've used the forest as an example here. So you might have like an opening, thick parts, slight paths, clear paths, a clearing, a fallen hill, like different types of forest, and it will build up this map of the forest, and then it'll put enemies into that forest, and then you might have to get from A to B. And that might be part of it. So when you play the game, it's different each time. But then you would have some sort of turn-based game. So your enemies would have health, and you'd have you'd have skills and so on. I think the main thing at the moment is the storyline and driving narrative. But there's scope for something like that, which you don't really get in audiobooks generally. So, and I think that's one of the things I want to do is just take this a step further and allow us to have, well, some sort of more interaction and maybe more RPG aspects. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I would definitely like to see that as well. So obviously, want to establish a story, and essentially what I'm focusing on at the moment is the first couple of puzzles that we kind of drafted last week and the week before. So if we can get them kind of solid, then we've got the basic interaction for how the player is going to be navigating the world, and we're going to be having different dialogues with other people, how it's going to how he's going to be interacting with certain objects and stuff. So once we've got that established, what I want there to be is there a certain point in the game where he essentially is finding out that he is trying to do something where in the facility that no one wants him to do, and I'm working out what that is exactly at the moment. But there will be a point where he's like, for instance, he might be a wanted man, or he might be having to get a signal broadcast back to work to Earth, or he might need to be getting on one of the ships departing for Earth or something like that.
Cool. Yeah, getting to Earth. That sounds fun.
Yeah, I think it would be good to try and have different environments as well, but have an element of danger. So there are enemies, there are people like the security staff who obviously run the facility. That he's working against them.
That sounds good. What I'd love as well is if we could have something within your script where characters are moving between locations. I'm really keen to try and get that working. So if we can, even just starting with a guard that patrols, spends 30 seconds in this location and then walks off and spends 30 seconds on that location. Something really simple. So you have to do something when the guard's not there. Just a really basic puzzle that instigates or teaches the user this is how it works, and they'll learn from that, and we can make it more complicated later. And this is all just about us playing around and seeing what we can do first, and then we can start building on the foundation. But I mean, it's already getting quite in depth. I love it. It's fantastic. Great job. Amazing.
Yeah, I'm loving writing it, so it's going to be even better when we can definitely get into the scope of what we can do and the programming that we can do behind it, and getting all the kind of RPG elements as well. Like, it'd be cool if you were like, for instance, that heartbeat. I quite like having the heartbeat so you can hear your health. For instance, as you get hit, you can maybe hear that response to your body getting hit by a gunshot or whatever.
Yeah,
you can hear the impact of it, and then if you're in a tense environment and you're trying to sneak past guards, and maybe your heartbeat's going up, so it kind of helps to heighten the tension or something.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, there's something I was playing the other day that had that. It's the new Half-Life game.
Half-Life
Yeah, when you lose a lot of health and you start hearing your heartbeat in your ears, and it's quite intense when you're getting attacked and you've got that boom 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 going on. I hate hearts. I've got a complete paranoia about hearts all the time. Whenever I hear a heart, I think I'm going to have a heart attack. I just can't bear it. So it works quite well. So yeah, no, I like that. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Do you want me to put that in as a wish on the wish list?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I've just started an art specifications document here.
Cool.
So what we probably want to do is we want to list out all the location. And you've already got items that are in the location, but you might want to talk a little bit about what's there. What I thought might be fun is for us to go onto Fiverr. I know this is mainly volunteers, I know, but we might have a little play and just fill out some little bits. And I already had a go at this, by the way. I'll show you in a sec. It was interesting results. I'm sure the people that did so one of them was this scene change, right, with the airlock. Okay. So that was a little Fiverr guy. Anyway, cool. Okay. Where's my wish list? It's just here. So we're going to add to the to-do list in regards to health. We want heartbeat noise when being hurt. Yeah. Or low health.
Yeah.
So how would you get your heart health back?
That's one to think about.
Sandwiches. The usual, some sort of food.
Some sort of food.
No, we need something better than that.
In Skyrim, have a block of cheese. This will heal you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just smear it on the wound. Cool. Okay. How much do you want to go through then? Because I kind of want to read the whole thing, but also I don't want to spoil it. And I know we're going to have to record this anyway, so
there's no spoilers at the moment. So
cool. So this is how does this work? So you switched to news, drama, documentary, and then how does the comment work? What do you imagine is happening here?
So the comment would be made in almost immediately as you change channel, for instance. If you go where so if you're playing the news or something, he can make a comment immediately as it's switched to the news, and then we might have a kind of continuous conversation dialogue program that's playing in the background that might be the news related, and it goes in a loop. Or we might have, I don't know if it's possible to have maybe 2 or 3.
You can have as many as you like.
So we can just have random instances.
Yeah. But I don't know about random instances, because so one of the things that I've been talking about is locking the controls, locking the because what I think one of the things that might be a bit jarring is if you're listening to a dialogue. I think having the ability to skip it is good. But the ability to just kind of skip constantly can be a bit weird. So what I'd like to do is when we start a dialogue, perhaps we have the sort of the black bars come down top and bottom, and it plays that scene. And if you want to skip it, press the button.
You skip the scene,
and it's exactly so. But we don't want them interacting whilst a narrative's going on. So to have them just kind of randomly comment when you could be pressing a button as well, they might skip it when they wanted to hear it. So just got to be careful of something like that. So what I was thinking is that it could be just something like watch. Yeah, every time you watch, you just select the TV and then watch. It's already playing, right? It's just an option, and when you press watch, then you get the sarcastic comments.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Cool. Fact check. 45 minutes. Is that true?
Yeah, it is. I got it from NASA.
Fantastic. Good job. I knew you would. Cool. All right. Nice. So I'll just put watch on these, so it's obvious. Cool. Love it. So this is great. I mean, this is pure gold.
Awesome.
And there's a part where he takes the jeans to the refrigerator. The bad guy.
Sorry, that's a lyric from a Roger Waters song I really like.
Right, okay.
It's quite.
I love it.
Sneak that one in.
Documentary. So there's no indicator what the documentary is just yet.
Just yet, but yeah, like it might just be something boring or whatever. But I just want to try and convey that he's got a sense of humor and he's got a bit of sarcasm about him.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. I really need to do the volume going down when he says something. But yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, great. He's actually on it.
Yeah, I thought it'd be good to kind of, see himself, because he's obviously he's quite a celebrity as well.
How do you imagine Jove sounding?
I don't know. Not young. I don't want him to sound like, a 22-year-old. I want him to sound maybe quite deep voice.
Mm-hmm. It's deep voice, right? And
not
what
like
accent?
Oh, now there's a
Can we get something interesting?
I think it would be good because he's obviously living on a facility that's manned by people from all sorts of backgrounds. So he's not going to have any one type of accent. It might be a bit of a mix. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be great to have some sort of like a slight European twinge to it of something.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, that would be really nice. Just a bit, going for the diversity factor. I think that'd be awesome. Yeah, well, anyway, that's a really important one because you don't want to be really just sick of that voice.
No,
you want
exactly.
to be like, give me some more of that chocolate voice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right.
So if we move down, we've got Jove's parents and family photo.
Play.
So I play. Yeah.
Cool.
I like the idea.
Nice.
All right. That's cool. So you can, and then you can hear a memory of what that person says about the photo, or if it's like a video, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with that one, it's his dad talking to scroll down.
We might have someone for doing the Foley as well. The guy Sean, whose girlfriend also wants a voice role. Holly, he does he does Foley and audio. I think he's got some sort of qualification in it. I can't remember what it was. I did ask. But anyway, he's keen to help out. So this sort of thing will be right up his street. Creating sort of conversations. You can hear the water sprinkler in the background and the doggy woofing is I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like a sunny day and they're having a conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Well, no, they're in space, so maybe not.
Yeah, but I want it to be, maybe not the dog, but like I want it to be like it brings you back to the day that was like taken or whatever like that. Cool. That is just very cheesy dialogue I came up with. So nice. That can honestly just be changed. But I want to try and give the impression that you can have a bit of dialogue plays and it's like a memory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then at the end, Jove has his opinion on what's just been said.
Cool. Okay. G-Com magazine.
Yes, I like that one. So he wrote an article. I think this is one. He wrote this article and he's reading it aloud in the voice that he wrote it at the time.
Yeah, nice.
And then he can comment on it as well. So I want there to be a range of different interactions. Like he can comment on something and that is his own personal opinion. And then when he's interacting it in another way, he's obviously saying what he's like, almost in the kind of
brilliant
of the player. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And then this way, the magazine, it can give a little bit of indication as to how he feels, what his upbringing was like, and you get to know the environment a bit more. Sure. And then I think in the study I have listed computer terminal and I put interaction like XY because I was like, I don't want to be like, here's all the things you can do with computer terminal, and then you're like, please stop.
Well, now we've discussed having like a replacing the interaction. I mean, replacing all the buttons with some kind of interactive element. So if we've got a PDA, I'm already thinking with the PDA, if you've got a screen, then we can have the audio log in there. We can have all sorts of things that relate to the player, maybe even the inventory. I don't know. But the PDA could be something like that. So if we're replacing our sort of navigation interaction interface with an object like that, then why can't we replace it with a computer terminal with whatever? So yeah, I mean this stuff will be, I don't know how, we'll have to look at this as a whole new sort of development, which will of course require some serious assistance from I think that the reason why I was trying to stay away from this stuff is because it requires graphic design, which is not my forte, and I didn't really have anyone that really wanted to help out graphic design wise. But you know what we'll do is we'll just like do something in Paint. It'll look daft, but it'll work, and then we can say, here you go, make this look good, but this is where the bits go. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you want to try to have a very basic idea of what we want, and then someone who's got half a bit of talent to like fill it out.
Yeah, cool. Okay, that works.
Cool. And then there's another family photo that you can look at. Play comments.
I'll just put a little note that must be mobile friendly. We've got to have this whole thing needs to be work on desktop and mobile. Click.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. And then so there's another photo, and that's the one that's got the pin code in it. So it's not. We're gonna try maybe I don't know. I don't want to handhold the player by saying here's the answer, but at the same time, if it's the first puzzle, maybe handhold them a bit or something. As they get used to the game itself. But yeah, that's the one that unlocks the pin and there's a little bit of dialogue.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That's very subtle. It's very subtle.
Yeah, so I think
imagine you. So with the audio log, what I was thinking is that all important information should be stored in it. So what I've done is I've said, like, when we do a narrative and we say something, we decide whether or not we're going to store it in the audio log. So we pass a true or false. So we might not necessarily need to like pass in this conversation here, but we definitely want to pass in, important information.
So save the kind of history of important data and stuff.
Yeah. So for example, we definitely want to store that in.
Yeah.
But maybe even what we do is we put like we have a summary. So
Yeah. To be honest, they did do that in The Witcher.
Yeah, because it makes it easier to sort of summarize what was just scan through where you've been and look for those hints.
Yeah, so it saves like what you've interacted with, where you've been, and it's like it knows to bring through that summary.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah.
So at the moment, I'm storing location, who said it, and what was said. But we could just say who said it, and obviously it's more work for us because we've got to create summaries for all the things we want to put in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so we're thinking about you might want to have some kind of store in audio log flag in your text.
Yeah.
So that the user knows, or we know when we're developing it, we're going to keep this.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So you can look at and comment. Nice.
Yeah.
This is the poster. Cool.
It's the poster. I can't even remember what that is about.
I mean, if we could really go overkill with the pictures. If we got like a team of artists, we could just be like, we could have a little picture for everything.
So that would be great. So it will come up. Yeah, I like that idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we could find loads of people that would be interested in doing that sort of thing. It'll be a wide variety of artwork. Yeah,
that would be good. So it would just add a bit more richness to the environment.
Yeah.
And so there's a couple more items, and then if you go to the balcony bit,
the balcony.
Yeah.
This bit here.
I think I'm, lagging by a couple of seconds, so I assume it's the right bit.
I was lucky.
Yeah.
One of the most successful scientists get quarters with a balcony.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's the bit. So this is the bit where I'm using the items on this bit they're less like physical items, but more points of interest. So there's the horizon, there's facility itself, and then there's Jupiter itself as well, which is something that you'll definitely be able to see throughout
right,
the
cool.
entire game.
Reminisce, nice. I choose to reminisce.
Yeah, exactly. It adds
Nice.
a little bit more flavor to, like, rather than just look at and or admire.
Maybe we should add like squint and just like give it some like real all sorts of things you could do on the balcony.
Yeah.
Maybe reminisce isn't the word. Maybe it's like I don't know. Actually, reminisce is good. I like that. Actually, you know what I love is that we could just say whatever we want. We could have a load of just random verbs. 6,
exactly.
by the way, 6 per object we've set it to at the moment.
Cool.
Otherwise, it might get a little bit overkill. Otherwise,
yeah. I think there's only so much you could do when looking at a view as well.
Well, no, that's cool. Nice.
Yeah.
So wait a minute.
So
this is oh, so that's looking at the view. Oh, that's looking at Jupiter, right? Okay, nice.
Yeah, so there's Jupiter, there's Europa's horizon, so, and then that kind of can give a bit of flavor to the environment. So people who are less familiar with Europa itself, they can discover that it's obviously made of ice, and then
you're going to need to do a Monkey Island and have a look at 3 of I'm bored looking at the Jupiter now.
Yeah.
I loved it at the beginning, but you know what? Actually,
that same bloody planet. Yeah.
Or we could just actually, after look 2, we could hide the verb. So you could you can just remove the action after that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, but I wanted it to be like, if you want to press it again, there's multiple options for what he might say.
Well, we certainly have a need for a Jove right now, don't we? Blimey. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Oh wow, the personal device. Uses instant enter pin. Why does he not know what the pin of his personal device is?
It's not the pin for his personal device; it's the pin for that message.
Okay. How do we make that clear to the reader, listener?
I'll think about it.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the start, there's like a prompt where it says like beep, enter pin.
Yeah.
I think I wrote that up at the top. So that would make it sort of semi-clear. And then if we can have like an interface, especially on the PDA, it's there, like as in like enter pin or something like that.
Cool.
Certainly for the first time.
Awesome.
Yeah, and also it'd be quite nice to have that message just play. Like, I don't know how much of an interference this would be, but if it would just be playing as part of background noise, maybe like once a minute or something.
Oh, right. Okay. Nice. I like that. Yeah. So it's
just to get the urgency of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. So that's a really tricky one, actually. So we need, actually, no, it's not. We need, this is what you were saying. So we actually need objects that can have a repeating sound.
Yeah.
And then what we'd do is we'd layer all these noises into it randomly and then let it loop.
Yeah. But not in a way that it's just crowding out the noise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we can actually, so even though there's no object called PDA in the location, maybe there is, I don't know. Maybe it's part of something they have. How does it work?
Yeah.
This is something
it'd be on the player at all times.
Yeah.
So it could maybe like contain their inventory and like what they've got on their person. They've got maybe access to like emails or something that so it's like a communications device as well, so they can get messages in from either the environment they're in or whatever. And it can maybe store like security passes and stuff like that.
So, I did that one then, by the way.
Which one?
Create an object that triggers an exit. Also, exits then need visibility, so you can hide exits as well and then show them. And you can hide objects as well. So what we want to do here is create potentially a hidden object on the screen. We could call it PDA, even though you've got your PDA, and then have it play this noise. And then at some point in the script, we tell it to stop. So we need objects can play sounds that one off or loop. I don't know why they'd one off, but objects can play sounds.
Yeah.
Or in fact, maybe we just actually, all we need is play sound effects. We've got a function for that already, but needs ability to loop. It doesn't at the moment. So use this for PDA crackle plus periodic bit of speech from dad. Yeah?
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds like another little challenge. And we need to get take as well. I need to get an inventory working. We're getting, I mean, we're so close at the moment. I think the biggest hurdle is going to be character narration, because I started looking at Inkle and how complicated the actual scripts are, and well, there's a lot you can do with them. I'm not going to bring one up here, but yeah, they can be really in depth. So I'm not quite sure yet, but I'm going to have to, that's going to be like probably a week's development at the rate I'm going at.
Well, we can always start quite small.
Yeah. How much dialogue have we got at the moment?
Between well, we've got
between
dialogue.
Other people.
Not many, none at all, because you've not met anyone yet. But by the time you open, so from memory, he gets out of his quarters, he goes into the lift, then security come along, so there's a bit of dialogue there. Then he's put into this depot bay, which is a kind of shelter, while they figure out what's wrong with the base. And the player will have the opportunity to speak to 4 other scientists, although there is a lot of other people there. We're going to give them 4 people that they can speak to. So you'll have the kind of background chatter of everyone.
Okay.
And you can just listen. Yeah.
Maybe we should just call that Act 2 rather than Act 1.
Yeah.
Or Act 1. Yeah. But I mean, it's a big step forward. This is going to be hard enough to get. But I think, if you can start working on next, bringing in a team of voice actors, then I suppose what would be great is then to have. The tricky thing is making sure that there's a level of quality going through it all, and we don't have a studio, so everyone's going to be using their own recording devices.
A couple of the people will have their own environment. I know that the guy who did my he's called Guy. The guy who did my narration, he is called Guy from one of my books. He has that all set up, so the soundproofing and everything.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think there does need to be sort of an expectation there. If anyone's going to be voice acting, that they've got the gear to do a good recording. Because if we're having a dialogue and suddenly someone's like got a massive hiss behind it, it's not going to be great. But that said, we're just having a bit of fun at the moment. So anyway, cool. Okay, so we actually get all the way to find Myra. Chapter 2. Oh, it is chapter 2. Like, oh, cool. Yeah. You know what? I like having chapters. So does that mean we can like sort of fade in chapter 1 when it starts? And
yeah, exactly. And you kind of know where you are as well. I quite like the idea of chapters as well. So
yeah, I wonder if we can do like you know what? It's gone. Don't worry about it. But yeah, I've got an idea what to do there. Just to sort of make it a bit more dramatic. I'm in the wrong one. So let's get back down here. Wow, how did I get all the way back up there? Right. So, who is Myra?
So, Myra is going to be the scientist who knew your father. So she's one of the older members of the crew at the Europa facility. She kind of like an auntie figure to you because you obviously grown up with her mother, and essentially, with I don't know how many spoilers you want to give away here, but essentially she's integral to knowing what's been going on in the facility. So,
are you going to actually find out from her?
You will find out something from her. Okay. Yes.
Right,
and you will find out. Yes, there's not much at the moment. I don't want to give too much away. Okay, but essentially, something has been going on the European facility that your father found out about
Mhm.
and was killed for, and she maybe knows a little bit more than she is letting on, and she might be hiding things from you, she might be hiding things from other people, or she might be protecting certain things.
Nice, cool.
Yeah.
So wait, so we hit for chapter 2, but we're still stuck in the quarters. Yeah.
No, chapter 2. Oh, is it chapter 2?
What door are we interacting with here?
The exit to will be. So I kind of redesigned. I'm sorry. I'm kind of redesigning.
No, it's fine.
I've redesigned what. We're not going to have a corridor, but we're going to.
I was actually thinking a corridor might be a good idea after all.
Okay,
because I just thought it was so bizarre getting in a lift while you're in your living quarters.
That's what I thought too. But we can have a kind of transition scene where it's like you're walking along and you might pass some people who are like on their way to their quarters or coming with you to work, whatever. So something that will give the impression that you're not just going directly into a lift. But I have done a redraft of what the facility is going to look like, and that's based on. I didn't want it to be top heavy because of the sort of scientific reasons of Europa itself and the gravity of Jupiter and its elliptical orbit would basically mean it's the gravity on Europa's kind of, so not the gravity of Europa, but the gravity influence from Jupiter is kind of stretching, and that's why you get these striations in the ice. So everything's kind of been going, it's being stretched and then contracted by the gravity of Jupiter, depending on its elliptical orbit of Europa. So I want to kind of reflect that in the architecture of the buildings. So there's going to be no more than maybe two floors up. There might be multiple going down, but I don't want it to be more than 2 above the surface of Europa. So we're going to have 3 domes connected by this sort of, if you want to call it corridor, but it's connected by the sort of, I can't think of a better word, corridor. They're connected. I will draw a picture. In my mind, it's 3 domes. So you've got a quarter dome, you've got an administration security dome, and then you've got the science research facility itself.
Wait, does that mean we've got no elevator?
No, there will be an elevator going up and down between those.
After all that work with the buttons. Right, okay, cool. I think, because we can have big abstract areas. So if for example, we think of the Starship Enterprise and you take the lift and you get out on the bridge, fine. Then you take the lift and you get out on floor 1. Then, you might just sort of hear people bustling and moving around, and now you've got access to areas that are on floor 1. So I think that makes sense. I think it was just a bit weird. It felt like the elevator was like too close. It was just a bit weird. There's only one person living here in the crew quarters. Yeah, perfect. Cool. Okay.
Yeah. And then the different environments. So I wanted to have a bit of a varied environment. So I'm just going through my notes here at the moment. So in terms of the kind of varied environments, you've also got the research facilities. So there'll be lots of kind of the typical computer noises of like dials going off and bleeps and whatever, right? So that's fine. But I wanted to have a bit of variety. So it's obviously it's by now it's a self-sufficient place. They're not getting as many supplies in. So they've got their own like greenhouse and their own little garden.
Nice.
So it's completely. So you could go in there, you could step out, you could feel the humidity in the air. You can, hear the birds because they brought them over into the environment. So you can hear the birds. You can hear the rustle of leaves. Because it's just like Kew Gardens greenhouse. It's just. You can feel it. You can feel the little different things. There might be like a little babbling brook that you can walk past and stuff like that. So, I want it to be, although it's in space, I don't want it to be sort of this sort of monotonous metallic footsteps and the sounds of hissing and static and dials and stuff like that. There's a bit of variety.
Cool.
And then at some point, I do want him to go out onto the surface and then just hear like almost this sort of like shocking like quietness of space. That would be cool, to just be having all of this noise to just nothing, and like the player may be like wondering, like, hang on a minute, and then realizing like this is what space sounds like. It's just nothing.
It'd be great to have someone take lead on that.
Yeah.
So I'll have a word with Sean and see if that's something he fancies. I think he's, he's in a band, but obviously they can't play at the moment. But we want someone that is, keen to take that role on, and then, kind of facilitate putting the audio together and stitching it where it needs to go with dialogue and so on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's so important. That and good voice acting.
Yeah.
Would be amazing. So cool. Okay, I'm so excited. It's coming up to an hour.
I know.
So we're gonna call it a day soon. But is there any action points we want to like assign to ourselves or for others?
I think it would be good to get a couple of audio clips, even if they're just extremely basic. Just a couple of audio clips that we can chuck in and see how that plays. I'd quite like to script like a wee, like I was saying before, like a wee TV kind of talk show host type thing that can be turned on.
Yeah.
So I'd quite like to get involved with that. I could maybe try and get involved in maybe sort of creating like ambient noises. I know that there's going to be higher quality stuff that we can maybe get someone else to do or purchase online. But
yeah, chapter 1 is you've got your do you have a narrator, or is it always Jove?
I think it would be better just to have Jove straight through, because it might just be a bit crowded.
Yeah,
you got narrator, then Jove, then narrator.
So wait, so Jove wakes. So wait, so no one's reading this out. This is
no
just
one's reading
sound.
that out. That's just the sound.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. Awesome. Okay. So no narrator. So we've got Jove. We have the sound of the what do you call it? Is it? Did you say AI?
Yeah, facility AI.
Facility AI. Nice. What is the facility AI?
That would just be like the massive Google Assistant for the entire base. It says like
a Google Assistant, right? Brilliant.
Yeah.
That would be so cool if you made it a Google Assistant, just for a laugh, or even go for something else. Go for what's his name? The SpaceX guy, Tesla.
Like.
You know the guy I mean, the guy that owns Tesla and SpaceX.
Oh, Elon Musk. So
go for the Elon Musk personal assistant or something like that, right? And it's like a clone of Elon Musk, and he's driven the space age, as it were, or he's the. Oh, you could introduce some fun stuff into it, like that. But anyway, right? Google Assistant, whatever. Any other characters we've got there?
You got the dad, and I think the mums.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. You got dad and mum.
And then there'll be talk show host or presenter, and then something to do with the TV. It might be a drama, so we could do like it'd be quite fun to do like a kind of futuristic drama.
Fantastic.
That you can hear from Earth.
Okay. It's so weird having my screen zoomed in this much. There we go. So, okay. And then we need voice actors for chapter 1. I think if we focus on chapter 1, and really get some detail in there, it's going to help us. So we don't want to get ahead of ourselves too much. So that's cool. Yeah. Well, let's really push this then. Do you want to do some auditions then? Do we want to find someone on Fiverr for a laugh? Do they have voice actors? Let's have a look. I'm sure they do. Let's see how much they cost. It's for fun.
Okay.
I will be a voice actor for a professional male voiceover. Should we have a listen? Can you hear it?
Not at the moment.
Will you hear it on YouTube, or have you got that turned
off?
No,
I've got that turned off.
Hold on, I'll turn on the volume on the Zoom share. Here we go. So I need to share screen and turn on the sound. There we go. Let's hear this guy. He's got a big beard.
Welcome to Voiced by Ken, and thank you for checking out my Fiverr gig. I'm Ken Marsiglia, a professional voiceover artist and voice actor with several years of experience.
Oh, jeez. That's
Oh
painful.
my
For the
God.
best there is.
Sorry.
You'd be
Voiced by
great for
Ken.
Fox News.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. £8.40
An hour? Or for the whole thing?
for 150 words.
Oh my God.
Is that good?
No, that's horrendous.
Really?
Is it? 150 words is probably
150
about
words.
half an A4 page.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a lot of text, and he's got to get it right as well, right?
True.
He hasn't got any other packages though.
Oh my God.
Who else have we got? This dude's like sitting there with a guitar. Western deep voice actor narrator. Pro-American male.
Oh no.
Flexible voice actor. Character voices. Let's have a look.
Yeah, let's try him.
This guy's expensive.
God,
150 words
good,
for £30. Let's have a listen.
Oh my God.
Pro talent.
Hi, my name is Chuck, and I'm a voice artist hiding behind a curtain. No way.
Pretty good.
That was the great and powerful Wizard of Oz. I meant hiding behind a microphone. In addition to all the normal sounds that you might expect from a professional voiceover guy, I've been known to perform character voices for all kinds of different roles, including a stuffy king on the throne,
A more traditional figure from organized crime.
and a voice that just might cause you to quake in your boots.
Nice.
I can also enhance my voice with different kinds of processing to create entirely different sounds. On this gig, you'll find a couple other demos where you can choose your preferred sound by letter or number designation. I'd enjoy an opportunity to work together.
It's got a good voice, though, to be honest.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, it might be fun to like really get some heavy-hitting, perfect voices, but you're gonna have to go easy on the amount of narrative we use. Like,
Well,
the PDA or like the AI facility, we could find someone and say, okay. But I think we, wherever possible, we don't really want to be paying someone. But if we find something amazing here, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Radio host, voice actor.
Oh,
Could this be the TV voice you wanted?
I already know what he's going to sound like, or she's going to sound like.
I'm a professional singer, songwriter, and voice actor.
There you go.
I have about 3 years of experience now doing commercials, voicemails.
But she's not actually going to give us any
No.
is she?
Walk into our spa, you're greeted with a warm welcome. Call.
Very, very sounds very LA sort of warm welcome.
Yeah.
So, anyway, it's quite fun. I think that the guys I paid to do the little thingy here and the other thing are quite young. I think there's a lot of very young people on here.
Mm-hmm.
But for the voice acting, you have to be a bit more grown up unless you're doing a child.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I mean, there's some cool stuff here. Anyway, right. Well, have you got some people in mind?
Yes. So as I said, I've got Guy.
Yeah.
I've got.
Have you got a guy planned for Jove?
No, because
No?
not necessarily. I need to hear the right voice, but I know that Guy has got a range of different voices. That he had a lot of fun doing the audiobooks, so I know what different voices he can put on. So he's a good candidate.
Why don't we set a target date of Saturday the 25th?
Yep.
That sound good?
Just have a ton of auditions through.
Yeah, so you're going to have the lines that you want ready.
Yep.
We'll have the characters that are available.
Yep.
And if you create a spec about who the characters are and what the lines will be, we can hand those out at the audition and then we'll do it live on air. And no, that would be so cruel, wouldn't it?
That was so bloody cruel.
No, so yeah, you'll just have to like request them. They record these lines, send it out to them.
Yeah.
And,
what we can do though is once we get the people that we were like, yeah, you're going to be Joe, you're going to be Myra, you're going to be whatever. We get them on here, and then we can be like introducing the voice of Joe and introducing the maybe.
All right. So if I've got anyone that's interested, I will get them put in touch with you. Shall I?
Yeah, give them you've got my email address or my phone number, whichever.
Oh, well, we'll just give them your email address.
Yeah.
Yeah, there might be some pretty crazy folk out there. I bought so Airlock Software was what basically the name of what I set up to sort of run Hull Breach back in the day. So I've got like the logo and things like that.
Nice.
And I've got the website as well. So if we want, you can get an Airlock software email and start doing all that. But we don't need to. But it's up to you. If you want to hide your email address and do it more professionally and all that.
Yeah, because I've still got the press at sgmarkauthor.com. But yeah, it's
cool. Yeah.
Well, got the website.
Yeah, you got press. Yeah, of course you've got. Right. Well, whatever you want. Let me know.
Yeah.
What email address you want. So you're going to arrange that. I'm going to keep pushing the development to tackle as much of what you've introduced there as possible. So action points for me will be technical. We want to have multiple TV channels. Should be interesting. To comment on the TV channels as they play.
Yep.
We potentially want a PD, UI, and we just created the audio log, so I want to put that in. And any other key things that you think come out of that script?
I think they're the main ones that are going to be fairly tricky.
We need I'll just add another one here. Need Foley / voice. Audio technician for the project in general. I really think we need to find someone good for that.
Yeah.
And I think we need to sort of need a way to cue dialogue. So and skip.
Almost like a kind of mini cutscene type thing.
Yeah, more control over hiding UI, skipping dialogue, replaying dialogue, etc. The other thing I want to do is add this sort of replay button, so that if you accidentally skip something, you could replay it. At the moment, I had this replay current location audio, but if you remember back when we started Svordio, it was really simple. It'd go somewhere and it would have a narration, a long narration and a short narration, and that was it.
Yeah.
Now we've got something like insanely in depth. So, yeah, cool. Okay, great. So we've got some key points there, some things to do. And I'll just finish by showing you, what did I get? I got a thumbnail for the YouTube videos. I don't even know where it is. It's gone. Let's have a look. Tell me what you think. I think it needs a bit of work, but here we go. Here's a thumbnail. I think one of the things about creating a thumbnail for this sort of thing is there's no artwork yet. So creating a dynamic audio adventure game in Godot, it's not really punching much. The colors are a little bit washed out. But yeah, so this is all just in the name of marketing, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you can handle that because I am shockingly bad at that.
Well, I'm no great graphic artist, so I've got a team that I could ask to do, but I'm just trying to keep a separation between work and my relationship with the guys at work. So I kind of really want to, I asked Laurie, who does like video editing, to like tweak the open closing airlock the other day, and I was like, I felt really bad asking, because I know these guys could do like an amazing job if I asked them to, and then I pay someone on Fiverr like £5 to do. An all right job. Thank you very much, though, if you're watching. So yeah. Anyway, right. Well, look, it's 10:10. We've gone over a bit, but thanks, Steph. That was awesome. Can't wait to see where we get. I'll send you this.
It sounds like it's really coming together now.
It is.
Like I feel like it's a real place now.
I know. Yeah, it's really cool. I can't wait to just get some audio in there and just be in that little space and hear the characters talking. So I'm excited. Cool. All right, Steph. Well, thank you very much. Have a fantastic weekend.
You too, and
And-
we'll catch up. Catch up soon.
Yep, keep you posted. I'll send you over this little summary here, and
Cool.
and for everyone watching, thank you very much for tuning in. And sorry we didn't do any coding today, but sometimes you just got to plan if you want to, do a good job with your coding later on. So thanks again, and tune in tomorrow at 9 p.m. BST. Thanks, Steph.
Cool. Thank you. Bye.
Take care. See you later.